Okay, morning guys. So as you all know, this week we've been celebrating Pride. It's the first time we're doing this in school, so it's pretty exciting. So thank you all for wearing your colors and stuff. It's great. To start off, we're just going to watch a short video quickly.
And I can't change, even if I tried, even if I wanted to. And I can't change, even if I tried, even if I wanted to. My love, my love, my love, she keeps me warm. She keeps me warm. She keeps me warm. She keeps me warm. And I can't change, even if I tried, even if I wanted to. My love, my love, my love, she keeps me warm. She keeps me warm. She keeps me warm. She keeps me warm. And I can't change, even if I tried, even if I wanted to. My love, my love, my love, she keeps me warm. 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 She keeps me warm.
My heart doesn't see race.
Love has no age limit.
That's my best friend.
We are neighbors and best friends.
We all have different religions, but we have universal love as well.
I love my sister.
Love is love.
Our family is no less than any other family.
Not crying on Sundays, 'cause I'm not crying on Sundays. Patient, love is kind.
Next up, we have a special guest speaker. He went to school in Johannesburg and moved to Cape Town to study, and he has been here ever since. Although he studied law, he landed a TV gig and worked in broadcasting for many years. Now he is the CEO of a digital media agency called Social Effects Media. He had, and still is having, a journey with sexuality, and we thought it would be cool to have him come share with us today. So everybody, please welcome Dan Acquisto.
So weird having to be the poster child for all the gay kids. It's a fun one to be here. Nice to meet you all this morning. I hope you guys are having a fantastic day so far. I asked Francie when I walked in, is every day a casual day? Can I come to the school? But just today for the celebration of Pride. I hope the photos were really awesome. So yeah, my name is Danilo. I came from Johannesburg in 2010 to come and study in Cape Town. And I wanted to share a bit of my story with you about how I have journeyed and still continue to journey with my own sexuality, because I don't think we really get to meet other young Catholic people who have got this kind of experience and get to chat to them about being gay and what it means and sort of like what their experience has been. So like I said, it's a bit weird being the poster child, but I'm very glad to be here today and to share more of my story. High school was so hectic, man. You guys live in a whole different world to what I grew up in. I sound like my dad. But I do feel like just even when did I leave high school? Was probably about 11, 12 years ago. No, more, 14 years ago, I think. The world was very different then to what it is now. And it's so cool to see. Like, I don't think I ever noticed anybody who would be openly gay at school when I was at school. That just wasn't a thing. You guys have a lot more people who are feeling a lot more confident to be in that space, and it's much more accepting environment. However, I do not, even sitting in this room today, there are some people who are sitting on the, yay, I cried, that was a beautiful video, I feel so good, and some who are like, ugh, rolls eyes, and move on. You might not say it out loud, but I think you might feel those things inside, and have conversations with your families about it, or perhaps even your friendship circles. And so getting to know people and their personal journeys is going to become important to you, to expose you to different ways of being in the world, and hopefully a bit of my story can resonate there. I also think it's been an interesting journey of trying to be normal, or myself, if that makes sense. I think there is this poster image when I used to grow up of what it meant to be gay. And I know that Pride is a really important period of time to remember like how we got to this point and all the lessons that can be learned. But I also don't wear tights and tutus and jump down the street. That's also not who I am. It's not kind of like how I choose to reflect my own sexuality. And I think it's really important to meet people of different ways of expression, and I think that that's hopefully what we can take from today. So I'm going to start with a small little exercise, and I'm going to pick on people. Sorry, front row, you guys are probably going to be my go-tos. Yeah, fidgety. Who's feeling it? Sir, yes. What is your name? T and Tawanda, nice to meet you. Oh, Tawanga, cool. Tell me something, what are your subjects you've selected?
IT, CAT, and EGD.
Okay, and are you involved in any sort of sports?
I do hockey.
Okay, and then any creative things that you're involved in, any arts?
I think I'm working on a video game by myself at home.
Cool. And how many siblings do you have?
I am an only child.
Okay, and are you gay?
No, straight.
I wanted to ask that question, and you're now done. You're out of the spotlight. You can breathe. Well done. Nailed it. That's what high school feels like, and what high school felt like to me throughout the journey. And you guys giggled, and it is funny because it's an awkward question to be asking somebody in a public setting, in a space like a school where you're trying to perform both academically, culturally, in your physical activities and sports, and trying to maintain friendships. And that question just gets thrown out at you, and you're expected to answer on the spot like you have an immediate answer to that question. If I say yes, I'm damned. And if I say no, I'm damned because I'm now lying. And now how am I going to come back from this? And now do I have to keep this lie alive forever? And so that kind of pressure is incredibly, incredibly stressful for somebody who is experiencing thoughts of sexuality and are not too sure who they are and are trying to figure that out. So for some of you who didn't get to have that question asked of you, I don't know how you feel. Was it a bit of a weird question to ask? Yes. And your immediate response was, no, I'm not. That was me for most of my life as well too. And I think my journey has been, I'd like to think, pretty interesting in terms of how I got to discover sort of what it is that I liked and who I was as a person. So let me just start with my high school journey a bit. I had many girlfriends, believe it or not, many. in high school. From about grade 10 to matric, I think I had about like 6 different girlfriends, and it was like this, yeah. Why would you doubt me? Like, I had a very high-performing family. My brother was like top academic. He was first team rugby. All the girls loved him. It was like a really high-performing environment to grow up in. I went to a pretty good school in Joburg, St. Stithians, what. And so I learned a lot through that experience, but it was a very high-performing school. Everybody there must be top academic, top sports, top everything that you can find yourself there. And trying to fit in was relatively hard. But, I didn't really know what I felt. And as you know, as teenagers, you have raging hormones. You don't really know what you like and don't like because everything seems attractive to you at your age. And so it is very difficult to determine exactly what you feel and who you are at that time. But I did have many girlfriends in high school, and I thoroughly enjoyed the experience of meeting new people and having that engagement. And it didn't feel wrong to me. I didn't feel at the time like I was definitely knew that I was gay and I was like lying to these poor girls and dragging them on a journey that didn't exist. This was something that was very true to me. I was really trying to figure this out. And that was the only place that I could explore romantic relationships. Imagine if I tried to explore a romantic relationship with a man in my day at school. I think that would have never been sort of appreciated very well. And I noticed the kids who did have very effeminate traits at school were very much outed. They weren't in the sort of popular groups. They weren't the ones that were feeling, with it and in it. They were often quite ostracized and teased at school. So I did everything in my capacity to try and avoid that. And I'm sure most of you have the same sort of experience at high school, even though the times have changed and your knowledge has grown and all of that stuff. You are on a mission to kind of stand out but not stand out. You want to stand out and be the best, but you kind of want to make sure that people like you. That's your mandate in high school. It's like remain as part of the group that doesn't need to be on the periphery. Stay in the core group, stay liked, be the best at whatever you do. It's super high performing. And if you're struggling with something in those high performing environments, it's far too risky to do something that would be controversial or scary or would be considered something on the periphery. And so that's the environment that you and your friends are growing up in. And I don't know whether you are, obviously in this group, there's going to be like a myriad of different ideas and thoughts about the world. But some of you may be like on the LGBTQI plus sort of spectrum. Some of you may be friends of people who are experiencing these things. Some of you may be people who are but anti it and think like you've got a very strong sort of mindset about it and that, it's all corrected behavior. And everybody here is going to be different. And I think we just need to get at the end of today a sense that there is a need for us all to just accept kind of difference, because just looking around the room, none of your outfits are identical. None of your fingerprints are identical. There is so much diversity in the room. Why have we tried to kind of bracket it into one particular thing? Right. Let's start with when I started to actively question my sexuality, because it didn't really begin in high school, to be honest. I know this might be a bit not controversial, but it's always a bit awkward to share these things. But a lot of my experiences of sexuality that were not in the sort of heteronormative style were done behind closed doors and in secret and in private. It was never really out in the open. Like I said, I had lots of girlfriends, so publicly facing, all my friends knew that I dated girls. Of course, I'm not gay, all of those conversations. But there were ideas. I had dreams. I would have conversations with the internet, and Mixit in my day was like the place to go to with these chat rooms. Those were the spaces that I got to explore, because it wasn't safe enough to explore that in other ways and in other environments. And so this is where the exploration got started. And I think it's really important to mention, because the first time that I ever started to ask myself, wait, maybe I am, was when I got to university. And at university, obviously, you arrive at a place like UCT, and there's people from Durban, Joburg, Cape Town. There's people who I didn't even know, like at that time, I don't think there were many sort of gender spectrums at the time. And so there were people you met from all different walks of life, religions, races, creeds, sexualities, and they were all very open about it. And suddenly you realize this world is much bigger than you imagined it would be. And you're being forced to ask the question, now that I have choice, what do I want? At high school, you don't get to ask yourself that question, because there's set requirements of you. You must pass, you must, complete whatever you needed to complete, and you must make sure your parents don't waste their money. Those things are all planned for you. But you get to university, what do you want to study? Who do you want to be? Who do you want to date? All these questions are questions you don't get to ask yourself now. You only get to ask yourself them later. And by being exposed to such a diverse group of friends, I was suddenly had to ask myself the question, what do I want for my future? And that's not easy question to answer, to be honest. It's quite a tough one. Anyway, so I started to speak to people. I started to have conversations with people who were gay. And I said, how do you know for sure? because I, at that time, still had a very binary view on it. You were either gay or you were straight. Like, those were the only options available to you. Danilo, which one are you? And trying to ask yourself that question. And I think I always never felt like I was either of these things. I felt like I was kind of somewhere in the middle, but I did know that I had this tendency and attraction, but I did know that I dated girls and I did love them. So what's going on was very confusing. So speaking to people who had have different experiences of their own sexuality helped me realize, oh wait, there's different ways to explore this. And I met one guy who was very openly bisexual. And I thought, what the heck is this bisexual? You're just too shy to say you're gay. And bisexual is a cop-out. Was always the view that I had at the time. But getting to meet him, and I knew that he was having both romantic and other relations with people of different genders. And I thought to myself, like, clearly this isn't a lie. Clearly he does have a dual attraction, and that's okay. And that suddenly opened the doors to a number of other conversations. So I think at that university level was the first time that I got accepted. And I wanted to touch on something else about this coming out story and journey, because everyone always wants to ask me, like, how did you come out? How did your parents take it? And all of those sort of questions, which are very normal to ask. And I hate YouTube for it, because it's always these YouTubers who come out and have this coming out video, or the sports stars who have this coming out post, or this moment with the parents where you tell them and either reject you or accept you, and there's this big moment that happens in life. And that was not my case at all. I knew from the beginning that I was questioning. I wasn't the person who was like, I know this for the fact, and I did all my research and information and kept it in secret, and then suddenly came out with this big burst of energy. I decided that I was going to involve my people very early on. So I contacted my parents, and I started having conversations with them. I was like, hey, I'm starting to have these feelings, and I want to try and figure out what that means for me. Are you guys keen to journey with me on this? Are you guys kind of keen to be along the same? I'm not saying I'm gay, I'm not saying I'm straight, I'm not saying I know what I am, but are you willing to kind of like be on this journey with me so that we can go on it together? And that was a really beautiful experience, because it's not like the stories that I've heard of other people who have had to hide this away from everybody and then come out as a means to just be themselves. I got to take people on this journey with me. And I think from high school days, I wish my friends did the same, man. I wish my friends made a safe enough space for me to be able to come to them and to have this conversation and let it be a journey, not a let me go and figure this out and then tell them what it is at the end. I don't need to know 100% what I am or who I am. I can be engaged in a conversation about it as and when it sort of unfolded in my life. So I didn't have a big sort of coming out moment. I think I still, to this day, am trying to figure out and understand my own sexuality. Like I said, I think I've started to realize more and more about this whole spectrum of sexuality, and trying to understand that there is kind of, I might not be on either polarized side or directly in the middle. I might be on one of the other quarters. I don't know, you guys do maths. What are those things? Like a percentile or something, you know? I learned something at school. Thanks, man. So I think I feel like I may be on one of those sort of percentiles, one of those quarters, and that's okay. Let it be a journey. Let it not be like a decision or a moment or like a coming out story. Let it be a journey of just self-discovery and experience, and surround yourself with people who are willing to go on that journey with you. So I was asked to prepare some things that I wish I learned from school, or wish I had at high school, because I didn't have an easy time. And I know some of you might be struggling in the high school experience. You won't know it now, but trust me, when you get to my good old age, you will know that the high school experience is incredibly stressful. You are forced to be in a particular box or bracket. You need to perform academically. There's certain minimum standards you need to meet. You know, there are friends to maintain, there are academics to maintain, sport to maintain, culture to maintain. You're under a lot of pressure in high school, but it's very structured. You leave this place, and the world becomes a very, very open, scary place where you have to make decisions about who you are. And I think if we can make some small changes at school, perhaps people like me can have a much easier journey moving forward. And some of the people sitting in this room and on the stream, in those classrooms, can also have an easy experience going into it. So one of the other things I wanted to put forward, so some of the ideas that I had about things that we could look at, was to put a little bit less pressure on performance always. So I wish that I got to find time to find what my strengths really were. And I think it's not only just the teachers that put you under pressure, or schools that put you under pressure, or perhaps your parents, but your peers too. Try and give your friends a little bit of slack, man. Give them some slack to not know, to be a bit confused, to try and figure it out, to not have everything under control and expect them to have all of the answers. I wish my friends created, and I'm going to capitalize this word even in the way that I say it, is a safe place to have a conversation. Asking whether you're gay or straight in a public environment like this, in a way that comes forward in a arrogant way, hoping that this person will answer you honestly, is not a great way to build sort of vulnerability or encourage somebody to share a bit of their journey with you. And I know you youngsters, like me, struggle with confidentiality as well. It's like, so when someone shares something that's pretty like, woo, with you, it's very easy to want to share it with somebody else because you've got this like pent up energy. But I really wish that friends would try and create safer spaces to have conversation. Like imagine if you said, no, I'm not, but went and found a friend who was really close to you, who was willing to say like, cool, I don't mind either way, just share with me and tell me a bit of your story. And prompted questions and allowed me to ask myself the questions I was asking. Because otherwise, all I do is I ask them at home by myself in my bedroom and never get a chance to chat about it externally. Again, don't ask anybody if they're gay. Just don't do it. And certainly not in public spaces. Encourage them to share their journey with you and to ask questions more than it is about trying to define themselves. Because trust me, at your age, I don't even think you know truly what it is that you want and desire at this time. So bearing in mind that whatever point you find yourself in, that person is only at that point. There's still a long journey still to go in it. And so are you gay, are you straight? Don't try and define it in such clear ways. I just want to remind you that you need to remind your peers by your actions and your words that you don't think being queer is weird, but in fact is wonderful. It's a wonderful thing to be different and unique and exciting and to know who you are. Because people who know who they are thrive in the world. It's the people who use all of their pent-up and expended energy on trying to hide who they are cannot perform in other ways. They can't give that energy to being the best that they can be in their careers or academics or be a good friend or be a good Christian. All that energy goes towards trying to keep this like lie or understanding sort of in place. And so try as best as you can not giggle when people ask you those questions, not sort of like roll your eyes, not tap your toes, or it's a very hard thing to do because some of them are going to be very natural, but try your best to not make the space feel unsafe. Make it feel like the most normal thing in the world, because it is the most normal thing in the world, and like 20% of you will come out at the end of the day in your high school careers and have yourself be on a different gender spectrum, and that's okay. Check in with me regularly, especially if I have shared with you a story that I'm having, because although I'd love to say that the world's moved on, it hasn't in many ways. This world is still not a safe place for young people to be gay, or to be on the spectrum, or to be experiencing any of the sort of LGBTQI plus lifestyles. It really is not easy. And so check in with me regularly. Today I might be fine. Tomorrow I might not be okay. The next day I might be on top of the world, and the day after that I might be suicidal. Check in regularly with me about how the journey is going. That's how you be a great friend. Don't make this an obsession of our relationship. That was one of the other big things, is my parents just never knew how to not talk about this. It was always, whenever I wanted to have a conversation, is, how's it going? How's it going? What are you doing about that? What do you think about this? How do you feel about that? It was the focus point of our entire relationship. I'm so much more than that. Like, I've got so many other things going on today that this is really the least of my problems right now. Realize that I am more than just my sexuality. I wish my friends knew that and didn't only speak to me about this. Then encourage me to find good spiritual directors and mentors. You guys will need this after school, but good people who you really do trust their opinion of. Because finding people is easy. People who agree with you is even easier. But finding people who you know of and respect and trust to go on this journey with that are older than you and more mature and wiser than you would be great. Then lastly, I just wish my friends reminded me to trust my gut. If you're experiencing something, you're experiencing it for a reason. I suppressed so many different guttural experiences, thinking that, I'd nurtured my way into this, or, it was because I watched that naughty video that now I feel this way. That's not the case. Trust your gut. Trust your gut that there is something that needs to be explored. Your body will give you signs that things are not okay. Same thing with illnesses. You will know when something's not right. You feel it in your gut. Same thing with these sort of things. We over-intellectualize how I cannot be, or how it could be better, or how I could ignore it, because we're smart people. But something in our gut knows. Trust that feeling. And then the last one. This is my favorite. Freaking educate yourself. Don't make me be the person who has to come and also explain to you about all of the rights and duties, what the Catholic Church says, what the Catechism says, what my priest says, what your priest says, what your friend says. It's not my duty to make sure that you know the information that's out there. I'm struggling with enough to kind of make sense of it myself and, stay afloat and keep going with my own journey in a very happy, healthy way, that I can't also be your encyclopedia about sexuality. Go and do your own research. If you don't know, don't ask me the question. Go and find out. Google that stuff. The internet is available to you. And my parents really struggled with this because I was now their poster child. I was the one who knew all the stuff, and I was the one going through this experience, so I'm going to go to you for all the questions that I have. And again, it makes it the obsession of the relationship, which is not necessarily healthy at all. So in closing, I think we as young people need to try our absolute best, we need to stop trying our absolute best to be perfect. I think we focus so much on trying to perform, to never make mistakes, to grow and develop and to be the best. But we forget that we do make mistakes, and many of them in your life. You've made many already. We get tired. The world doesn't make sense, and we're not perfect. In fact, we're incredibly messy as people. The world is in like a state of absolute disarray in so many different ways. Some ways it's fabulous. But it's in a whole state of disarray at the moment. So we are living in a very messy environment. And if we can learn to love the world as it is, not as we think it should be in some perfect environment, I think we ease a lot of the tension that we can experience in the world and make people like me feel a little bit more welcome. Because there is no perfect way. There is no right way. There are many different ways, and they're all perfect, and they all have their own different joys and excitements to bring. It's not an easy environment. So if we can love the world as it is and not love it for what we think it should be, I think we'll all learn to love each other for all of our differences, our weaknesses, and our strengths as well. And I know that it's like a tough environment today to do this, but I'm open to any questions because I'm quite a cheeky person, and I know no question scares me. But I know that you guys are often maybe a bit too like shy or otherwise bored to ask questions. But I'll leave the space open for a few seconds to take any questions. If there are any, I'm very happy to answer them. Otherwise, I'll make myself available for 10 minutes to just chat and share. Because, yeah, I didn't really know how much of my story to share or what things should be shared. By raise of hand, are there any questions? Yeah. Yeah, did I feel accepted in my church community when I started exploring my sexuality? It's a good question. I did, ironically. Like I said, I started involving people in my journey really, really early on in the process. And not controversially, but the more and more I spoke to Catholics who I thought were going to be like super, like anti, a lot of them were like, so my uncle is, or I know somebody who is, or, I separate the idea of being gay and like what the church teaches about sex and marriage, because those are very different conversations. Being gay is not a problem. The church has no issue with how people find themselves gendered or how they find themselves sexually attracted to whatever. So I found that my priests that I consulted with, all of my friends who were Catholic that I consulted with, maybe found it like a bit challenging or a bit like unsure of how to place themselves, but I never, ever, ever was rejected from anything. They never kind of outed me on anything, and I was surprised by that. The first big priest I went to go and consult with told me, here's the 3 stories in the Bible that talk about sexuality, and here's why all 3 of them can be discredited. You're fine. Go ahead. And I knew he was a little bit too liberal, so I went to go find a slightly more conservative opinion, and I got all of those facts as well too. And I realized there is definitely a polarization in the church about this. It's not like not everybody's on the one side or the other side about it. There's many different views. It's about deciding what is it that you want and making sure that you try your best to keep God at the center of all of that. But I never really felt rejected, and I'm the lucky one. I'm not like everybody else. I think everybody else has had a much tougher experience with their families and with the church. But let my story be one to hopefully give you some courage. There are spaces that are safe enough to have that conversation. Good question. Anything else? Are you gay? Joking. Right. Thank you very much, everybody. I hope you guys have a good rest of your Pride Week. I will make myself available for sort of private chat if you guys want to come and chat to me. Otherwise, your your teachers will have access to my contact information or social handles or whatever. So if you do feel like this is not a safe space to be able to share that, I'm very much open to having a conversation with you and hearing some more of your story. But yeah, I'll be available for about 10 minutes or so if you wanted to chat, but I hear there's some quiz and fizzes up for grabs. So thank you for having me. Enjoy the rest of Pride. Enjoy the casual day today and have a lekker weekend.
Can we just call you back up? We have a little gift for you. Thank you so much for coming and sharing with us.
Where's the beer and biltong? Yeah!
Okay, some of you look a little bit dead, so everyone get up, swap seats.
Okay, guys, settle down, please. I'll take my mask off. Okay. Okay, so now we're starting with our Pride quiz, sorry guys. First question, when was same-sex marriage legalized in South Africa? You have to put your hand up to answer the question. Yes? Yes. Okay, question 2, what is the name of the uprising that took place in New York 1969 that sparked the formation of many human rights movements? Wow, that happened quickly. Okay, Adam, Ande. Okay. Yes. Ande. Okay. Okay, question 3. How many countries have legalized same-sex marriage? Yes, Matthew? Sorry? No. Yes. No. Yes. Shh, I can't hear. No. Yes. I can't hear. Sorry? Click. Correct. Now I get to the thingy. Who said that? Didn't you hear? Oh well, there's many fizzers, you can get one. Okay, question 4. Where was the first Pride Parade? Okay, everyone put your hands down. Put your hands down. Hands down. Stop now. Diesel. No. The one in the red hat thingy? Okay. Okay. Question 5. What does the color purple represent on the pride flag? Yes? Yeah? Huh? Yes. Okay. Question 6. When is Pride Month celebrated internationally? Okay, hands down again. Hey, did you hear me? Hands down. Hands down. Start. Wow. Ethan. No. So that's I'm asking too many questions. You. Sorry? Yes. Okay. Wait, Thomas, they stole her sweet. Oh, never mind. Question 7. Who is the mother of pride? No. 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 Yeah. Who said Brenda Fassi? Okay, question 8. Which flag is the transgender flag? Prudence. The second one. Okay, go Prudence. Okay. Question 9. When is Pride Month in South Africa? Jared? No. Okay, Neo? Yes. Okay. Last but not least, question 10. Which was the first country to legalize same-sex marriage? Mika? Oh, yes. Woo! Thank you.
Okay, just settle down quickly. Shh, quiet. Okay, I just want to thank Thomas and Mrs. Rygrock and Dan for coming out and speaking to us. I hope you've just learned something new, and I want you to know we will continue to support it and create and accept an environment. This is just the start. But on a different topic, we would like to announce the first team netball ladies who will be participating. They'll be participating on the 5th of March. Quiet. Okay, they'll be in a tournament on the 5th of March at Bosmansdam. Some of them aren't going to be here, but they just stand when your name is called, and then we can give them a round of applause afterwards. Dominique, Zoe, Zena, Precious, Emma, Nawazi, but she's in grade 9, Tristy, Daniela, Danny, and Prudence. No, they're not dressed. So ladies, we'll take a picture on Monday all together. Well done. Thank you, the senior school. You may go to your second period.